Today I'm sharing with you a biography about Henriette Anne of England, the first wife of Philippe d'Orléans. Henriette was born in Exeter, England on June 16, 1644, at the height of the English Civil War, a series of civil wars between parliamentarians and royalists. As soon as Henriette was born, her mother fled to France, leaving the little Henriette in the care of her governess, Lady Dalkeith, Countess of Morton. When Lady Morton was forced to deliver the little Henriette to Parliament, she refused and also fled to France with the child in the summer of 1646. Henriette's father, Charles I, was deposed as King of England and beheaded in 1649. Henriette's first years in France weren't easy. The French monarchy was faced with the revolt called La Fronde, the French treasury was empty, and the regent of France, Anne of Austria, had more important concerns than the well-being of little Henriette. The child spent some miserable years in an apartment in the Louvre, which had been assigned to her and her mother. They lived in poverty, barely having the means to warm themselves. Furthermore, they lacked the funds to dress according to their rank, and Henriette's mother had to sell her valuables just to ensure their survival. In addition, both Henriette and her mother were kept away from court life. As they were the wife and daughter of a deposed and executed king with no money to their name, Henriette and her mother were of no interest to anyone. Despite the deplorable situation in which they found themselves, the intelligent Henriette did receive an acceptable education for someone of her rank. The situation for Henriette became more favorable when, against all odds, in 1660, Henriette's older brother succeeded in reconquering the throne that had been taken from his father and became Charles II of England. Henriette, who had been a neglected and uninteresting fugitive until then, now became the sister of a king in office and therefore a person worthy of interest. On March 31st, 1661, at the age of 16, Henriette married her cousin Philippe I, Duc d'Orléans, also known as Monsieur, the brother of King Louis XIV. The French court and Louis XIV didn't know Henriette well, as previously she had been kept away from court. The marriage between Philippe and Henriette was important, as Philippe's homosexual tendency at times were very disruptive. But the marriage also had political importance, as it strengthened the connection between the Bourbon dynasty and the House of Stuart, which had been recently restored to the throne. The marriage between Henriette and Philippe was not a happy one. The homosexual Philippe, who was already involved in a passionate affair with the Chevalier de Lorraine, nevertheless fulfilled his marital duty. The union between Henriette and Philippe produced 5 children: Marie-Louise d'Orléans, Philippe Charles d'Orléans, a stillborn baby girl in 1665, a stillborn baby boy in 1667, and lastly, Anne-Marie d'Orléans. Despite the fact that Philippe had little interest in his wife, he envied the influence she had on the king. Henriette was close to Louis, who greatly appreciated her beauty and intelligence. Philippe assumed that Henriette was using her influence on the king to obtain favors for everyone but Philippe. This was, however, not the case. Louis XIV still had not forgotten the lessons he learned during the Fronde, and therefore withheld power from his brother, so the authority of the monarchy would never be threatened. Gossip arose that the king and Henriette were lovers. Historians today admit there is a possibility of an affair between them, but no actual proof exists. In order to put an end to the gossip, it was decided that the king needed to take a mistress, a task for which Louise de la Vallière was chosen. For a biography on Louise de la Vallière, you can click on the link in the upper right corner. In 1670, Henriette was requested by the king to go on a diplomatic mission to England. She went to visit her brother, Charles II, and contributed greatly to the signing of the Treaty of Dover. The treaty ensured Louis XIV of English support in return for a subsidy being paid by France to England. The Treaty of Dover ended England's participation of the Triple Alliance between Sweden, the Dutch Republic and England against France. 2 weeks after Henriette's return to France, She started suffering from violent pains after drinking a cup of chicory. After being in agony for several hours, Henriette died at the Château Saint-Cloud on June 30, 1670, at the age of 26. A theory exists that Henriette was poisoned by the devious and unscrupulous Chevalier de Lorraine, lover of Philippe d'Orléans, who had been exiled by the king upon request of Henriette. It was testified by courtiers that Henriette had fallen ill within a few minutes after she had drank the cup of chicory. After the rumors of poisoning arose, Louis XIV had an autopsy performed, but he forbade the doctors on pain of death to report any signs of poisoning in the autopsy report in order to avoid the political consequences of such a death. Louis proceeded to force his brother to remarry to Elisabeth Charlotte of the Palatinate in 1671, but not before agreeing upon the return of the Chevalier de Lorraine to the French court. The actual cause of Henriette's death still has not been established to this day, but modern studies of the autopsy report point in the direction of illnesses such as porphyria, a genetic disease present in the Stuart family, or peritonitis caused by a perforated ulcer. This concludes today's video. A full biography on Louis XIV can be found on my channel. A separate playlist for his biography has been made up for your convenience. For more information about Philippe d'Orléans or about his second wife, Elisabeth Charlotte of the Palatinate, please click on one of the videos you can see on your screen at this moment. For more about the Bourbon dynasty, join me next week. Don't miss it. Bye!